Good morning, everyone. It is August 18th, and you could probably hear it in my voice, but I have been down for the count. I've been pretty sick. The baby brought home something last week. I don't know what it was, but I got it 1,000 times worse than she did. My husband also probably got it about 50 times worse than she did relative to me, but I was so out of it. I basically could barely work for 2 days this week. And so I spent a lot of time, honestly, in bed and inside and didn't do anything out here. I skipped my florist market on Wednesday, didn't do any retail orders. So I'm sitting on so many stems that need to move. The stems that I'm sitting on in the fridge are lily stems. And so that's a very high value crop for me. So I wanted to move it. And of course, challenge accepted. So I wanted to do a video on how I'm moving stems at a time when honestly Facebook Marketplace isn't working very well for me this year, especially compared to last year. And I'm gonna talk deeply about that in addition to price, in addition to value perception. So I think this is going to be an interesting video. So we're gonna watch how many stems I move over the next, it kind of started yesterday because I started the marketing efforts there. So it's already been 24 hours. And then I'm gonna do something else tomorrow for our co-op related email marketing. And we're gonna see if that gets any bites. And if it doesn't, then it doesn't. But I'm gonna track all of that and bring you along with me. But first, I've got to do some harvesting for some retail bouquets that are going out just based off of that 24-hour marketing that I did yesterday. It is now around noontime. So I finished harvesting in the morning and things have been conditioning. I had like an 8:30 a.m. meeting. So I just pulled some lilies out of the cooler. This is what we are working with. So I get to make 6 juicy bouquets. I'm pretty excited. Here's all of the lilies that are available for me to work with. You can tell a lot of them are opening up or starting to open up. I probably still have, I would say, at least 1.5 times the amount of this in the cooler, with more coming in. We've got some sunflowers, some celosia and status as filler, some Lysianthus. Look at that. This is the mariachi. And I believe this is the ABC Rose. And then this is also, I believe, an ABC too. But these came out really, really good. And then we've got some dahlias. So one thing you're gonna notice is that there's not a lot of greenery. There's actually no greenery. I'm actually torn about that because I made a bouquet for someone who didn't want any lilies. I snuck a rose lily in there because I don't think they're gonna smell it. But I have some silver shield and I really love how it does round it out. So I'm gonna see how these bouquets go. But I marketed them as juicy, focused bouquets. So that's what they're gonna get. And honestly, my silver shield gets me at least $1.45 per stem at the co-op. So I kind of like to reserve it for that purpose. So I'm gonna start making bouquets and also talk through how I moved these or got the sales for these bouquets. Hey guys, before I show you the next section, I just wanna give a fair warning. I was going through some of the footage as I was editing and realized that in certain aspects, I'm talking so passionately about the subject that there's snot coming out of my nose. So I apologize in advance. And I don't know if you could tell, I am the type of person who literally gives zero crap about how I look. This is a great testament of that today. I'm putting this out there on the internet. I look ridiculous in some areas. So close your eyes when the snot comes out, but hopefully the message is still good enough for you to power through. So this is just my warning and apology ahead of time. Also, as the Germans would say, I have everything ready to start making bouquets. So got my buckets in front of me of flowers, got my catch-all bucket for not dirty stems, for clipped off stems, a bucket for me to put the bouquets in, some wraps, and we're ready to go. All right, so these are going to be, as I said, juicy bouquets. They're gonna have lilies, mostly rose lilies actually, as well as lisianthus and dahlias as their focal, and then some ancillary things to round them out. I am selling these for $25, and to sweeten the deal, they're also getting a side straight bunch of lilies. So a really, really good deal. Now let's talk about how I got to this. Basically, I was at a stage where I looked at my cooler and it was like, I have an insane amount of stems right now. I absolutely need to move these. And my first plan was, well, there's two different ways I can go about moving these, actually three. But the two high level ways are, first, I can go through my co-op. And then the second way is I can go to the retail side. So the co-op is wholesale, and the retail side is then split into two parts where I could hypothetically do a farmer's market if I wanted to. I have that choice where I can text that farm or that market manager to say, hey, I have extra stems. Can I set up a tent this Sunday? I know that choice isn't open for a lot of people, but it is open for me. And then the second retail route is for me to post on a marketplace or to reach out to my old customers to see if they want stems. And I decided not to do the farmer's market route because it's going to be like high 80s this weekend. I don't want to spend all of tomorrow preparing. There's stuff out in the field that I'm behind on, and I don't want to be sitting at a market for half a Sunday. So I decided, let me go the route of both doing the co-op as well as making sure that I can market to my old customers and doing it also on Facebook Marketplace. So that's how I got to this. I said I have 6 bouquets to make because I already made a 7, which meant that I was able to sell 7 bouquets off retail within it wasn't even a 24-hour span, it was more like a 16-hour span. Because I am highly incapable of multitasking while making bouquets, I'm going to pause the video here and there so I can pick up some stems. So let's talk about what I did. I am noticing that on Facebook Marketplace, it's definitely been a lot slower. It's been slower in the sense that things are not like last year where I posted for $15 bouquets and people come lining up out the door asking for bouquets. When I post like $20 bouquets, forget about it. Like no one's asking. So I decided to actually do something different because I went on Marketplace and I looked at other people selling flowers and I noticed they were all selling them for like $5 or $10, which, I'm going to talk a little bit about that later. But obviously like they're selling out because they're basically selling what I would consider to be $20 to $25 bunches for $10. Like something like this with a few more filler stems, you're selling for $10, which to me is obscene. I've seen lisianthus in there. I've seen a lot of dahlias in there too. And honestly, at that price, I'm better off just selling at my co-op. So I was like, let me actually raise the price. Let me raise it to $25. And guess what? Out of the 7 bouquets, I got 3 hits on Marketplace. And 2 except for 1 are actually gifts. So what I learned from this was that both people who messaged me are people who have seen my posts before, didn't have an occasion to buy, but now they have an occasion to buy and they're willing to spend extra money because they are gifting it to someone. So even though I upped the price, there is a perceived value that, it's a $25 arrangement. Like it's gonna be really nice. Obviously it's coupled with photos and the text that talks about, hey, like, these are lisianthus. They're very specialty. They're notoriously difficult to grow. You're not going to find them everywhere type of thing. I think that really helped with just getting those people to say like, yeah, like now's the time for me to gift and I want to gift with your flowers. So takeaway number 1 is that just because someone doesn't bite now doesn't mean that your efforts at marketing towards them goes unnoticed. And that is what we call frequency. So in the world of marketing, there's some stat out there where it's like someone needs to see a commercial 7 times before it really like resonates with them and it sits with them. So think about the same way with your flowers. Just because you're putting it on Marketplace or on your Instagram, Facebook, and you're not getting any hits, people may not be in the right mindset or in the position to buy flowers. They might be traveling. They may not want flowers. They might want flowers for particular occasions or to gift, right? So don't give up on marketing and frequency is something that is needed even with flowers. All right, so I just finished my first bouquet. It is so lush, such a great deal for $25, especially with a side of straight bunch of lilies. So pretty happy with how these look. And I would say that I have, let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3 stems of Lysianthus, which I budgeted. This one has 4 stems of rose lilies, so we're up to 7. And then we've got 2 dahlias, so that's 9, and a sunflower, that's 10. Celosia, status, and that's kind of it. So we've got 10 like big focal flowers, which, you know, I'm pricing at like $2 a stem, which is really, really cheap, because wholesale, I would actually get more than that. So this goes to show you like what a good deal it is, but I had to move stems and I didn't want to move them at too cheap of a price. So this is kind of like a compromise right now. Next topic I want to address, which is pricing. So for the people who are pricing at $10 for their little roadside stand at the end of their house, and there was actually someone on the Flower Farmers Facebook group who posted a photo of the market at Pike's Place in Seattle, showing that basically a lot of the blooms at a certain section of the market are priced at like $10 to $12, and then $20 gets you this like giant bouquet that probably at most places would be like $30 to $40. And her takeaway from that post was, before you tell someone you're underpricing your blooms, people need to understand that every single market is different, and fair to that point. But one thing that I really want to, or 2 things I really want to emphasize here is, one, you know, when we price flowers really, really low, what we're doing is we're commoditizing the product. So it doesn't matter if it's flowers or anything else. At a certain low price point, it becomes a commodity. And what that means is that in order to make money, you have to sell a lot in volume to make up for it. So look, if you're someone who is doing this as just like you're growing in your backyard, you don't really need it as like primary income, you're just doing it for fun, you know, selling it for $10, that's your prerogative. We live in a capitalistic world, at least here in the US. There's nothing that's going to stop you from selling it for $1 or giving it away for free, right? That's just how capitalism works and the free market. So that's fine if you're not looking to make money. But if you are looking to do this as a serious business and you're starting out by pricing really low, hoping that you can get people in, first of all, it's always hard to raise prices. But second of all, do you have both the capacity in your backyard to grow more, and you have the labor that comes with that to harvest more in order to do that volume? So, you know, I sold, we'll call it 7 bouquets at $25, okay? So that is what, doing the rough math, that is, 150 plus 20, $175, okay? If I sold that at $10 each, I'd have to sell at least 17 bouquets and make 17 bouquets and harvest 17 bouquets. That's a lot of labor. So while you could have the space to grow more, the piece that really eats up your profitability is the labor piece of it. So unless if you don't value your labor, it doesn't make sense to sell at that price. But again, your prerogative here. Now, that point around you should know your market when you price, at the Pike's Place market example, I would say that they may not be your customer. And so even a farmer's market may not be the right place for you to sell if you're looking to sell at a reasonable price to make profit without doing that substantial amount of volume. So hear me out here, because if this theory of people expect flowers to be dirt cheap in the Pacific Northwest because there's a lot of people who grow flowers, then there shouldn't be a single florist who sells retail bouquets. There shouldn't be any wire services like 1-800-Flowers or Teleflora that wires in those flower orders to florists for an obscene amount of money for very little and low quality bouquets. Like, those should not exist, right? People shouldn't be walking into a florist and paying $50 for an arrangement to gift. Of course they exist, right? So the point here is that there are a certain type of people who go to a farmer's market. They're buying bouquets probably for their kitchen table. They may be gifting, but they're probably not gifting a bouquet from that place for a special event. They're probably going to a florist for that. And there are people who are gonna gift from the farmer's market, but that is not everyone. So what I'm trying to say here is that in the Pacific Northwest, it's also very competitive in coffee. So you've got gas station coffee, you've got grocery store coffee, you've got Starbucks, and then you've got like third wave, which is very, very expensive coffee. There's a place for everyone because enough people drink coffee. Enough people also buy flowers for that kind of segmentation. So if you're in an area where the Amish are selling really, really cheap at the roadside stand, or you've got someone else who is just selling $10 bouquets at their roadside stand and they're like 2 miles away from you, I'm sorry, but a roadside stand may not be the best route for you. You might just need to look for another channel to sell your blooms at a more reasonable price. Anything that is worth doing is usually not easy, right? So I say this because there's a lot of beginner flower farmers who feel discouraged, like my flowers aren't selling. How am I supposed to command this high premium price when the person next to me is selling it for dirt cheap? Well, the answer is you go somewhere else where they're not going. And in the long run, you will be better off for it. Bam, another one done. I happen to really, really like this customer. Actually, I happen to really like all the customers who are ordering. So I'm making them extra lush than for, I guess, someone who's just randomly contacting me, which doesn't sound great. But the truth of it is, look, if you're a great customer, you appreciate flowers, you're willing to pay for flowers, I'm gonna be willing to put a little bit more for you because I want you to be happy and love your bouquet. And this is gonna last for a really long time. Obviously the dahlias are not gonna last. The dahlias were picked today, so they should probably get a good 5 days off of something like this. Maybe also 5 days, 4 days, something like this, but everything else is gonna last for at least, I would say 10 days, 2 weeks, minimum. So the Lysianthus are also in holding solution, which is going to help them get a little bit more time out of their vase life too. All right, so back to what we were talking about, which is essentially finding that right customer and retaining that right customer. So one of my biggest regrets was not having a longer CSA. And I honestly thought that I wouldn't have enough flowers, which is kind of funny just looking at how many flowers I'm surrounded by right now. But I was like, oh, like any flowers I have, I'll just get it to the co-op. And look, the co-op is a great venue for doing that, but it's not gonna sell all of my stems. And it's once a week, right? So I wanna clear my fridge for incoming inventory that's gonna come in before Wednesday. And then, be able to basically have the freshest blooms in the fridge without holding them for too long. So anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that I got emails off of customers who I had before, and then some of them obviously also follow me on Instagram and on Facebook. So I did post something to Marketplace, and I have like a tiered strategy system based off of how desperate I am to move stems. If I'm not too desperate, I only post it on Facebook Marketplace. If I'm a little bit more desperate in the sense that I have urgency, I'm gonna also post it on my Facebook page and Instagram page. And the reason why I don't post too much, especially on my Instagram page for special deal bouquets, is because I also sell to florists. So, in this case, I am kind of undercutting florists a little bit depending on who they are. Now, that being said, some of these stems I wouldn't sell to florists because they're either too short or they've bloomed a little bit too much or for whatever reason, right? So, like I'll give you an example, like this Lysianthus over here, like it's fine. Some florists might actually want to buy it because of the color, but it's not as roughly and as layered as something like this over here, which, is really, really great for a wedding or event work, especially once it opens up. So it's not like I'm giving, the same exact stems in this kind of deal to my retail customers, but they are still getting a good deal. But anyway, so I don't post on my Instagram because I don't want the florist seeing like, one, I'm selling a lot of retail bouquets and there's obviously that competition piece, and I don't want them being like, oh, like, why am I not getting a fair deal, even though the stems that I'm selling to them are definitely very, very top quality. So that all being said, my last plan of, or last resort, when I am very desperate, is I hit my email list. And in the world of marketing, your email list is king. I ran a soap company based off of email marketing and Facebook advertising. And at its height, it got close to 6 figures. So email marketing works. And, I would talk with other small business owners, and we would always say, like, if we had to push the lever in a time of desperation, we would send out a promotional email, and that would be a sale, free shipping, or whatever it was, buy one, get one free. And you would always get hit with at least $500 to $1,000 lift in sales from that one email alone. Obviously, it depends on your email size. But what I'm trying to say here is that there's a limit to how often you can hit those customers, because if you start getting promotions every single week and those promotions seem like a sale, you become a Kohl's. So in the United States, Kohl's is a retail box where I'm not gonna go to Kohl's and buy anything that's not on sale, because my expectation is that things will be on sale. Bed Bath & Beyond too, I expect to walk in with a coupon. So I don't want my flowers to be like that. So year to date, I've only hit up these email customers twice. Once was during Tulip Hell when I had so many tulips, and this is the second time, but I'm also hitting them up because these are truly premium focals that I really don't think that they're gonna be able to get anything else. I think it's gonna give them a really better experience of flowers from me, and it's also gonna help elevate when I sell the tulip CSA in the winter, right? So there's a lot of strategic thinking here in terms of when I deploy certain marketing methods. So email list, it really wasn't that big of a list. These are people who bought from me on Valentine's Day, who were part of my CSA and the CSA ended, or for whatever reason they ordered from me online and they're local. And so I sent them an email saying the same thing, like, hey, specialty flowers are coming in. We'll do delivery basically for $5. I made it easy for them. I sent them 2 links on my Squarespace. They bought it. These people pay tax and everything, right? So these are really great customers, because at a farmer's market, that stuff is baked into the price. Anyway, so got a couple of hits, right? So 2 out of, I think it was 20 was still better than 0. And that's how I got to the 2. So 2 plus 3 from the Facebook Marketplace post. And then I got another 2 bouquets off of Instagram from a current CSA customer who is gifting to a dog sitter and her mother-in-law. And she is one of the best customers that I have. She frequently supports local flowers. I'm very, very thankful for her. And so it's just one of those things where, if you find the right base of people, you might be able to just continue to sell to them, especially in a time of need. Now, I'm not moving huge volumes, but at the end of the day, I have an extra $175 plus the delivery fee, and I'm able to move my stems, and I've accomplished my objectives. One more bouquet made. If there's anything you can take away from this video, it's I cannot make bouquets and talk at the same time. It's still too much for me. This one's gonna be for a gift. So this one's for a mother-in-law who is undergoing a procedure, and I think she's gonna be really happy with this. So I'm excited to deliver this to her later today, and somehow my hair is in here. So yeah, look at that. So we actually had a customer come to pick up bouquets. I didn't realize it's already 1 p.m. Made another bouquet. This one is for a dog sitter. So yeah, what I'm gonna do is I'm going to continue making bouquets, finish up, and then we'll pick up the video again after. And here is the end result. Here are the free bunches of lilies. Here are the bouquets that we just made. They look so juicy and gorgeous. Another one over here. Customer picked another one up before. And then here's the one that is non-lily. I mean, I snuck a rose lily in here because I don't think they'll even realize it's a lily, and I'm on a mission to convert people onto lilies. And then their straight bunch is Lisianthus and Dahlias. This customer has kind of been a little bit on and off in terms of communication, so I'm not sure she's gonna come or not, and if she doesn't, I guess I'm gonna have a very happy neighbor. But yeah, very happy with how these turned out, and that's the remnants. Many of these will go back to the cooler. Colors like this don't sell very well at the co-op. But these sunflowers, I'm hoping someone will bite at the co-op. And I still have the capacity to make maybe another like 3 more bouquets that look like that. My constraint is the Lysianthus because I have committed stems at the co-op, and these are going for, I'm selling mine for $2.25. My Lysianthus, in all transparency, are not as good as those grown in the hoop house by my fellow growers because they don't have the rain to contend with, and we've been getting a lot of random like thunderstorms at night. So it does mean that the petals are less perfect for event work. So some of them are selling them for like $260 to $280, but I'm happy with $225. So I have to be careful with how many Lysianthus I cut because I've already pre-sold a couple of bunches there. Guys, this is still how much I have left in the fridge. Oh my God, so many lilies. So I just got back from all the deliveries. We delivered a total of 5 bouquets to 4 customers. And in total, including delivery fees, that was $190. And I thought I would actually talk a little bit more about the pricing piece. I know I was saying that, each bouquet had about 10 stems. So what ended up happening was all the bouquets had basically 3 Lysianthus, 4 rose lilies, and a couple of dahlias. So let me give you the reasoning here. The Lysianthus are definitely a specialty crop that could command anywhere from like $2.80 at my co-op. The problem is, even though I'm selling this week at the co-op, if I don't get pre-orders for more Lysianthus, if I bring them to the market floor, I have to be there to bring them back. And that's just not possible for me this week because I have to go to work. So the co-op is about a full hour south, and then where I work is a full hour north of me. So it's about an hour and a half away to get from the co-op to my job. So I'm basically gonna bring whatever I pre-sell and maybe a 5-stem bunch of rose lilies. So I wanted to make sure that I moved as many Lysianthus that were ready so that at least I could get something for them. The dahlias, I didn't really count the dahlias in my stem count, even though obviously you should, but it's because the dahlias I had blooming right now are not gonna last till next Tuesday when I harvest. So I've been deadheading like crazy. So I also wanted to make sure I got something for them. The rose lilies definitely could have held, but I need more room in my fridge space. So what ends up happening is when you count the amount of stems that I had, the 4 rose lilies plus the 3 Lysianthus, that gets you to 7. What I want to make sure is that I can get at least like, close to $3 off of each stem. So that gets me to $21 plus $4 for everything else, including sunflower, which from a cost perspective is very, very low, even with labor. And then, the status is also very low. So it's really the dahlias here at that point where I would have deadheaded anyway. So at the end of the day, I still view it as a relatively profitable type of bouquet, even though from a typical pricing perspective, it's not profitable. So that coupled with the fact that I am selling to repeat customers, some of whom are going to sign up for my CSA, have signed up for my CSA, it just feels like there's a bit of kind of like a lost lead mentality, and that I'm doing this for the greater gain, if that makes sense. So it's not like I felt like I had to explain this, but I wanted to make sure that people understood my rationale for why I sold really specialty type of stems at a relatively lower price point, given the types of bouquets that I was putting out there this week. Good morning, everyone. It is now a couple of days later. It's a Sunday, and I wanted to now talk about me moving my stems through a wholesale route, and that is primarily through me selling wholesale at a co-op. And so that co-op happens every single Wednesday morning from 8 to 11 a.m. From 8 to 10 a.m., it is open to designers and florists. And then from 10 to 11 a.m., it is open to the retail market, but the retail does need to also buy a pass to shop. So that's very, very high level. Now, for me, I actually do have quite an above average pre-order already for this upcoming Wednesday. I'm just having a hodgepodge of things coming in, like anything from dahlias to status to sunflowers. I got really creative with a lot of my volunteer cherry tomatoes because I saw designers using them. So I started selling, like just branching cherry tomatoes with little fruit on there. And people bought like 15 stems, which is really, really nice. So I got a lot of things there. The problem with that market is that those florists are not lovers of lilies. I definitely have sold lilies, but it's definitely not in the amount that I would have imagined. So lilies, as I'm coming to realize, are just so associated and embedded with this sense of being a funeral flower, especially because the scent reminds people of funerals. And that is such a hard disassociation association to break, because scent is one of our most strong senses and it brings back a lot of memory. So to disconnect that is very difficult. So there's been a couple of things that I've been doing throughout the past couple of months since I've gotten lilies with these florists. A lot of them follow me on Instagram. So I curate my content whenever I have lilies to get them to be bought into lilies. Meaning, if I see a designer using lilies in a very cool way that is just something that people may not think of, I share it. Anytime a designer at my co-op buys lilies and uses them, I share it. So I'm resharing their posts. And then last but not least, I also reached out to one of the instructors from the Lily workshop saying, hey, do you have any inspiration online? Because some of these designers, I think, either are lacking inspiration on how to use lilies or just don't realize that lilies are being used by these high level designers. So she sent me a couple, and one of them is Tulipina. She does a lot of Lake Como weddings. These are very high-end weddings, and she loves using tulips. So I also share anytime I see content from her on my Instagram. And I think over time, that has definitely led a couple of designers to dip their toes and start buying lilies. So right now, what I have at this co-op is a breadth issue, meaning I have a few designers who will buy lilies regularly when they need it. And I have a designer who bought 20 stems from me this upcoming week, and they're regular lilies. They're not even rose lilies. But I have a breadth issue in the sense that I don't have enough designers who come shop at the market to buy my lilies. So the second thing that I did is I've been helping the co-op with their email management, meaning I've been using MailChimp and sending out on a weekly basis for the past month content that people might find interesting. So for example, first email was about meet the growers behind the co-op. The second one was what happens in that 1 hour before our market floor opens. I took a video showing all of us filling up buckets, putting the pre-orders together, our market manager QCing each pre-order, that kind of stuff. Third email was about Lysianthus, and not necessarily, I don't need to sell Lysianthus to these designers, but more around how many Lysianthus did we grow? Did you know how hard it is to grow it? That kind of stuff. And then the last email was about rose lilies. I was very specific in talking about rose lilies. My headline was basically just a reliable focal that is able to withstand being out of water, in the heat, blah, blah. So I'll put a screenshot over here, and I will actually show you on my Patreon just a little bit more in depth around what my email campaigns look like. So this is probably a good time to talk about my Patreon, which is something that I launched a couple of months ago. So if you have been learning from my content, want to support me, or want access to ungated written content that complements some of these YouTube videos, I have a Patreon. It's $5 a month. For that $5 a month, you support me in making these videos as well as additional content. So that all being said, I sent that email out, and these emails are long-term. I'm not expecting to send out an email with a button that says pre-order now and people to pre-order lilies. That didn't happen, right? So I sent that email yesterday, a full 24 hours ago, no bites on the lilies. So I have a feeling that this is not going to be a very good lily week. I am going to bring one 5-bunch stem of Amistad, which is a rose lily that does sell very well with designers because it has this very light blush white pallet. So I do need to basically just drop off and leave, which means anything that doesn't sell on the market floor gets composted or donated. So I am not going to leave a ton of lilies there for that reason. And for that reason too, I'm also not going to leave any additional bunches of Lisianthus because there is just so much Lisianthus from other growers. What I will leave is things like celosia, maybe some straw flower, things that are like low value and that kind of like don't matter if I don't get it back because I have so much of it outside. So basically what I'm trying to say is, me moving stems in a given week, I try to use the co-op. It works for a lot of the non-lily stuff, but for the lily stuff, I really do have to work at it. And I would say in a given week, I'm lucky if I can move like 10 to 15 stems of lilies. So even moving 20 stems, especially of a regular lily, is pretty good for me this week. Going the retail route, I'm actually considering doing a farmer's market next weekend. So to be discussed on that piece, but I was very happy with the amount I was able to move this week. Now, one thing to close this thing out is as if to reinforce what I said about even if you live in a place like the Pacific Northwest where people expect their flowers to be dirt cheap at a farmer's market, that may not be your right mode or venue of selling. As I was coming back from my deliveries, I had my grower friend Jess ping me. I had actually sent her a referral. There was someone who was looking for delivered flowers in her neck of the woods, and it's just too far away for me to drive. And I was like, Jess lives right over there. I'll just send it over to her. The guy wanted $100 arrangement. Jess is the person who lives in a place very close to Pennsylvania. She calls it hippy dippy. Her flowers go for $10. She knows she's probably slightly underpricing them, but that is what people around there kind of expect. And guess what? This guy wanted a $100 arrangement. She charged $25 for delivery to the door. And this guy was willing to pay for it, right? So it goes to tell you, right customer, even in a difficult geographic location, can give you the price that your flowers command. So hope this video was helpful for you. And let me know if you have any questions in the comments below. Let me know how you've been moving stems this year, especially if Facebook Marketplace hasn't been working for you, what your pricing strategies have been like. And I will see you in the next video.